SolidWorks has really focused in this release on not necessarily adding as many new features, but really expanding the depth of functionality to things that we already do. So I want to take a look now at some things that we've done in the user interface, part mode, and sketch mode. Now we've got a little milk jug example here, and I want to show you something that I really like new in the 2009 interface, and it's called mouse gestures. Mouse gestures are a way of assigning up to 8 possible shortcuts just by a flick of the mouse. The way we invoke mouse gestures is you hold down the right button and just do a slight drag in one direction, and I can assign up to 8 different shortcuts, and they're context sensitive. So I might have shortcuts that are specific to sketch mode versus drawing mode versus assemblies. Here in my part mode, for example, I've got some of my common views assigned. I've got my previous view, and I've got my zoom tool to where I can easily access those. So it's just a flick of the mouse. As I click and drag quickly with the right mouse button in the up position, that goes to a front view. If I drag to the left, that restores me to my previous view, or maybe to an isometric view, or to my zoom tool. So I can zoom in on this region right here. Let's pick on this face, and I'll mouse gesture to a normal 2 view. Once you get the hang of where your mouse gestures are assigned, you're going to find that it really cuts down on the amount of mouse travel that you have to use in order to find commonly used commands. Now I'm going to go in and edit the sketch belonging to this split line feature. I've got a split line that's just drawing in the Dassault logo, but let's draw some additional lines on top of this. We'll just lay in some geometry like so. And I want to show you the way we've improved the Sketch Fillet tool. With the Sketch Fillet tool, something we've done in the past, but we've just expanded the depth of functionality here. Watch this. I can pick on a corner. I can window select multiple corners. I can pick intersecting lines. And SolidWorks is automatically going to trim those with fillets. Now what's nice here is that we now have a dynamic preview of what those fillets are going to look like. I'll drop those in. Hit OK. SolidWorks automatically trims it out for me. Now, this is the sketch that we're editing is for a split line feature. And if you've used the split line feature in the past, you know that one of the limitations is that you can only have one closed contour per split line feature. Well, we've gotten rid of that restriction. So in 2010, I can create split lines with multiple closed contours. It does a really nice job, very quick and very easy. Let's take a look at this, this face over here. I've got a sketch drawn in here. And you can see that with my mouse gestures, I now have context-sensitive mouse gestures here to where I can assign different shortcuts, like rectangles, circles, trim, what have you. Now, what I want to use here is my slot tool. So I'll use my shortcut key to bring up my horizontal slot. Let's draw in something like that. Now what I'd like to do is use the linear sketch pattern command. This is a command we've had for a long time, but I've never really found it very usable. One of the reasons is because it wasn't ever parametric. It would just copy the geometry, but there was no intelligence to it. So what I want to do here with my linear sketch pattern is show you how now I can enter multiple instances. Let's increase the spacing on those to about 40 millimeters, like so. And when I accept this, you'll see that we now include the parametric dimensions for the linear sketch pattern, the same way that we've done linear feature patterns for years and years and years. But this is nice because now my linear sketch pattern has intelligence to it, so I can use this as a modifiable dimension for design tables, for configurations, equations, what have you. That's a great improvement, and it's just depth of functionality that we've added to something we've done all along. We've also made improvements in how we handle sketch text. In the past, all you could enter here is just dumb text that you type in with the keyboard. But now, we can link to our custom properties. So let's link to the configuration name, for example. You can see that it now adds that sketch text based on whatever the custom property value. Why this is significant is you can now create variations of your product, different configurations, and have the text automatically update for you. Now, let's go in and insert the split line curve. Once again, with multiple contours here, no problem for SolidWorks. We pick on the faces to split, and the split line computes much faster than it did and supports much more difficult geometry types. One other improvement we made to the split line feature is that it's now patternable, and we can now pattern and mirror that split line feature. Here I'll just create a circular pattern, 2 instances, so we get one of those Dassault logos on the other side of the bottle. Great depth of functionality there. Just improving on things that we already do. And one last area that I'd like to show you here has to do with how we handle 3D sketches. A couple releases ago we implemented an equation-driven curve in the 2D sketch mode, and we've now expanded that into 3D sketch mode. Now when you think about a 3D sketch, we can have variables in the X, Y, and Z dimensions, so it adds to a whole lot of possible complexity here. I'm going to modify this equation-driven curve, and it gives us this nice little wave profile. When I have this model updated, you're going to see some really complex geometry that we created very simply using that 3D equation. So just like that, we can now create some pretty complex geometry with that 3D equation-driven curve. Some great depth of functionality added in part, sketch, and user interface mode.